For the drawing, you can bring the parts in one at a time like we've been doing with the insert view or the view palette. We have another method, and I will just open up my landscape. Use any of the default if you haven't created a template yet. So the first one we'll go ahead and bring in as normal. It's going to bring in with the exploded and the view. It will be an isometric, so we'll go ahead and place it. And that's a little bit small. We're at 1 to 10. Let's see what 1 to 5 looks like. It's a little bit better. If I can't find, I can almost say half is going to be too big. So if I go into user defined, let's give it a quarter scale, 1 to 4. That shrinks it probably enough. Alright, but we do want to bring in the bill of materials, so right-clicking anywhere in the view, and we'll come all the way down to tables and bill of materials. Should default. If you haven't created the simple template, then just accept the default, and it's going to be top level. All this really is that we right-clicked and we deleted that column that was the description or one of the other items. Alright, so if I expand this out a little bit, I think I can do that kind of like the Excel spreadsheet, where you click on the column divider and it will go to the largest item. And then we got to figure out where we're going to put all of those balloons, how we're going to line this up. So let's go up to auto balloon, and that doesn't look too bad. Few little things maybe could be better, but we'll drag the magnetic lines, see if we can get those a little closer in, and clean up the detail. Yes, that's looking pretty good so far. We'll get that off of the bill of materials, and 8 might go better over there. Extend out the magnetic line, I can drag those guys along, make a little bit more room. And 3, well, I'll try not to catch it, but it's going to be a little bit of a challenge. Okay, so I think I'm going to have to get the bill of materials out of the way temporarily. And what I'm looking for is to be able to grab that handle and drag it to the other end. And 12 doesn't look great all out there by its lonesome, but I don't know that I can slide it in there on the lower group. So we'll call that good for now and revisit it if we need to. Alright, so I mentioned that we have another technique, and let's see if we can reduce this a little bit so we can get our screen. Alright, and then if I come up to window and we tile, let's try horizontally. That's not great, it's not bad. We'll add our next sheet, and the advantage here then is that I can go in the order of the assembly, drag in my, or maybe not. Might have to save this first, so we'll do a save all, and we'll take off the assembly and make this the drawing, and see if that helps. Nope, not liking that. Alright, so I know that in the past I've been able to do that. I'm not sure what's going on. You can see it a little bit better. One more try with the drag and drop. I don't think it's in the middle of a command, which would usually be the issue. Support, well, the support came in. So it goes into our 3 view. We'll go ahead and accept it. That gets us started. And we'll have to go back and see why the wheel bracket, except for the sheet metal. Alright, so add another piece. We already have the support arm, so we'll bring in the pivot. And we'd rather have too much than not enough. So we can go back and decipher which of those views will actually be useful. And then the stationary arm. And accept. And let's see, am I missing any, going to be missing any pieces? Well, stationary arm, wheel support. So here's the advantages. I'm less likely to miss something if I go down through the assembly and I bring each of the items in. So except for the issue with the wheel bracket, let's go ahead and add those before I forget that. Except for the issue with the bracket coming in, we've got all of our components. It added my center lines, and we've got the group. So let's go ahead and we'll bring in these from the view palette and dot dot dot. And right now the wheel bracket is in that solid block configuration. So let's go back to the default, which should be the sheet metal. And we'll bring that one in. Nope, that's still in the block view. So not sure, it didn't change for me. So let's go back to the default. There's our views. All right, and then one more. That center line got lost in the our center marks got lost in the translation, so let's go ahead and take those out. And then the one that I'd really be interested in is having the flat pattern. And that still went to the block, so it's kind of interesting that it and didn't take it, so we'll come back over, make sure it's in the default. There we go. Alright, so the main thing is getting those down, and depending on the orientation, that's how we're going to read parts. So if I highlight that and went to the default flat pattern, alright, and as soon as I start messing with the views, then I'm going to lose those annotations. So probably want to just leave it. Since I lost it, I'm just going to have to delete the view. Maybe now let me just do the Control-C, Control-V thing in here. So Control-V, make sure it's in the default, switch it to the flat pattern. Okay. Alright, so sometimes it can be a little tricky and want to put up a good fight. Alright, so we save the block. I'm going to do a kind of an optimization for it, and if we need it, we'll add one more sheet, but this will cover us for our details. Alright, so we have our exploded view with the bill of materials, and when we look at the bill of materials view from the book, these were kind of intermixed. What I like is all of our built components, and then the purchase components, and then the hardware will be in the group. We don't have any sub-assemblies, so this component would technically be the sub-assembly. Take it up into the next level. Maybe there's two of these attached and they articulate or do whatever they're going to do. Then we can see how those interact. Alright, so back to this, size-wise. Let's see what the 1/2 looks like. Those radiuses still drive me crazy. I think it's a lot more detail than it needs. Let's see what the whole callout will do with that specialized whole stack up that we did. Alright, so near side, far side. So that would be the only thing if these were different. I mean, it's kind of pretty self-explanatory what's going on here, but if these were different, I may pull out the call out near side and far side, and we would add those to the group either by coming over to the list, and I don't see the little pop-up. So I haven't tried this with the switch near side far side messages. Alright, well, it didn't give me the call out, so let's just see what that. Alright, we're really not going to see anything because they're exactly the same, so I guess we'd have to have a little bit different there. So that's kind of nice that it does that. I'm not in my DEMS, so let's switch over and we will add that. Alright, and so this being a whole call out kind of has the what would we call the jogged leader, and I need to find my layers, so that went to notes, and we're going to switch that over to DEMS. Alright, so if you pick one of those up, and we'll add some center marks, and for holes, for slots, good enough. Interesting that it put that out there for the big slot. Yeah, I'm not real fond of that one. If I was going to put one, I would put it at that location. So maybe we'll go back and pick the one, and it still really wants the larger of the two hole locations. So, and then notice that that goes to centers. So basically in the group. Kind of interesting that it changed the other one as well, which we'll see if we can pick those up. Alright, so I didn't change it, and we want to put those over at center. Do I need another one? Let's go ahead and grab that one, and that one. And on the layers, we'll switch those over to center. Okay, so at this point we go through and apply our dimensions. We have the whole call out 2 times. Put in our regular dimensions. Don't know if that's going to be a typical or not, but at least that much, and then the radius of 0.25. Let's just make that a typical so that it's called out as a kind of an all over. I don't remember if this one was or not, so we'll just check it. So yeah, it falls into our typical category. Alright, some overalls. Put in our dimensions, 3/8, and then we would either set those up depending on how we wanted the stack up of dimensions. Then keep in mind, if we were in ANSI, we would be looking at a different group. I do kind of like the way the ISO stacks up. It can be made a little more compact if needed. Alright, so our position, and then to center, and no, I don't want to, so the little red blue is flipping the sides. That wasn't really what I was going for there. Alright, so then since this one had the stack up to show it symmetrical, if I put in one more dimension, we're going to have a conflict. So one of these will need to be a reference dimension. So when I do my stack up of tolerances, is if the ½ inch, and the 0.38 are more critical than the 1.38, and we're going to allow those tolerances to vary along each of those dimensions versus the overall, one of those still has to be a reference. So we'll go with that for now. And then we'll pick up, that is the 1.5. I think it's a little clearer in that view. Alright, so we have an overall height. Bring that out. And if we wanted to denote that those are on centers, And I probably need to do the 3 times. And I would rather do 3 times than drag the extension line all the way through the part. I don't know, it's still kind of a preference as to how you like it to look. Alright, and then picking our datums, we'll come off the end, and we'll add those dimensions. And looks like I missed a couple. So right click, go back into select, I can grab those 2 center marks, take them off of notes, put them on center. Alright, so we can close that up just a little bit. And, you know, by all accounts, height-wise, depth-wise, you know, I'm not really seeing any value to this right view, so if I delete it, I can always add it in later if I decide I need it. So bring those over, and does not look like, oh, I did get the, oh, got a 90 degree on that one. That one's not going to help me. Back into the smart dimension, let's grab that center mark, 1 inch 150, and then we had the 6.5 inch overall. So I'm a little hesitant with that particular one. I kind of would prefer not to have to search that out. So let's see if I can drag that handle, and let's see which one is it. The control button. If I drag the control button, or select and then hold the control button, I can drag that dimension. A lot of times it's just easier to delete it and reapply it. See if I can get it to attach. And that would be the reason why it's easier to delete it and just reapply it. Is that getting it, especially with all those radiuses, getting it to attach to the right point can be kind of difficult. Alright, so since that one's still there, we'll go ahead and take that out. Alright, so when we do the tolerance and stack ups, we go back through this, look at what needs to be set to 3 place decimals, what our critical dimensions are, and I missed looks like I missed a radius, so that one's going to be pretty critical, and it's going to have to match up with the bar. Let's go ahead and drag some of these back in. Oh, I must have drug it that way just a little bit. Okay. Alright, so we're going to go through each of the items. And say I might have left that for sheet 7. Alright, I'll have to go back through the list. I'm going to leave the video off here and add the dimensions. We'll pick up the discussion in the next video and kind of go through what the processes were.